Hey everyone, how you doing? It's Mr. Outlaw. Today we're going to review the SX Mini M Class from Yeehee. It's a 60 watt temperature control device, so let's get into it. So I've been using this SX Mini M Class from Yeehee for about 2.5 weeks now, and I can tell you I'm really enjoying this device. Now I know this video is a little late. It's been out for about 3.5 weeks, but I wanted to really put it through its test. I wanted to try a few different batteries with it and see the battery life I got depending on the battery I used. I also wanted to check out the durability of it, see how well it held up, especially because I work outside, so I really put my devices through abuse. So if I can take a device and not have it break because I'm outside all the time, it's definitely probably going to be a good thing for you. In addition, I wanted to try a bunch of different atomizers, some different RBAs, RDAs, and see how each one worked on the device, what the best builds that I feel comfortable with, and try the different things and see which one I liked best. And overall, I'm very, very impressed with this device. I'm loving this device. Now, I have two DNA 40s, and I still use both my Hanamods and my VaporShark RDNA 40, but I keep finding myself going back to the Yeehee as my go-to, especially when I'm at home. I just like everything about it. I like the feel of it in my hand. I like the position of the button. I like the weight. It is definitely a little bit heavier device, especially when I compare it to the DNA 40 devices that I have, but I just like it. I like the solid feel of it. Now, there are a lot of pros to this device, a few negatives, but a lot of pros. Before I go any further, though, I do want to apologize. This video is going to probably be a little bit longer than most of my videos, and I'm also probably going to have a lot of cuts and edits, and I apologize for it, but I have a lot of information that I want to cover, and there's just no way I'm going to be able to do it in just 1 or 2 takes. So I apologize. I'll try to fade in and out when I do the editing rather than, do quick jumps so that you don't get headache from watching quick jumps, but I just wanted to apologize for that up front. So let's talk about the different features of this device overall before we get into the up close and personal. Like I said, it is a temperature controlled device. It uses the SX350J chip, which the J stands for joules. Now, the SX Mini actually accomplishes temperature control very similar to the DNA 40, but it does it in a different way. And the first way being, they measure everything in joules. Now, if you go on the SX Mini website, they really don't give you an explanation of what the joules are. They pretty much just say it's the amount of vapor consumed, so you know how much you've consumed. It doesn't make any sense. What I have found through my using it constantly and testing it is that it is some percentage of watts. For whatever reason, they're calling it joules, but it is some percentage of watts. And what I mean by that, for example, I find when I set this at like 16 joules in the temperature control mode, I get pretty much the same vape that I would get if I would set my DNA 40 to 20 watts. So that's just something, and we'll talk about it a little bit more in the up close and personal, but that is what I have personally found. I may be completely off on that. Nobody has really been able to figure it out, other than the fact that they say, joules is, energy consumed, and they're saying it's the amount of vapor consumed, but my personal experience has been that it is some percentage of watts, and, if you figure it out, it's probably like 0.83% of 1 watt or something like that. But again, that's just my personal experience. I'm finding that a slightly less joule is equal to a slightly more wattage when I use it. So like I said, it is a temperature controlled device, and you can set it anywhere between 200 degrees Fahrenheit and 580 degrees Fahrenheit. When you have it in the temperature mode, you can adjust it between 10 joules and 50 joules. And like I said, my personal experiences, that is some form of wattage. When I'm vaping again at 16 joules, it's pretty much very similar to the vape that I would get at 20 watts on a DNA device. It does use one single 18650 battery, and you can buy an extension tube to run a second battery in serial with it. It is a 60 watt regulated device, and if you put the extension battery tube on it, which I personally won't, I'll put a picture of it here on the screen so you can see what it would look like. It goes all the way up to 120 watts, which again, I personally would never do it. My personal vaping preference is not to go that high. In fact, I won't even hit 60 watts with it. But again, my personal preference and vaping preference. It does an output voltage of 1 volt to 9.5 volts. Now, they tell you the resistance when you're using a Kanthal build on your coil can go all the way to a 0.08 ohms up to a 3 ohms. In my testing and trying different builds with it, I was not able to get the device to fire anything lower than like a 0.11. Now, I don't know if I'm doing something wrong. I watched a lot of other people talk about it, and they've had pretty much the same experience where they couldn't get it down to below a 0.1. So that's just something for you to know. It does have a buck boost and a boost. There are 4 modes to it. It has a soft mode, a standard mode, a powerful mode, and now upgraded from the SX Mini S class, it has a powerful plus mode, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later on. But basically, the soft mode kind of gives you a slow ramp up to your desired wattage or temperature. The standard kind of just starts you right there. The powerful gives you like a 1 second burst higher up than what you want, and the Powerful Plus gives you a 2 second higher burst. Now, also, I want to say I'm not going to be using oscilloscopes or anything like that. If you want to see those kind of really in detail, graphs and things like that, check out Pete Pissardo's video. He put up a great video that really goes into detail. I'm really talking more about layman stuff, what my personal experience is, and how to use the device. It does have a USB charger out here on the front, and we'll see that more in the up close and personal. You can charge it that way, but if you look in the manual, they recommend that you not use the USB to charge it, not because it can't do it, but because you only have a 3-month warranty on the USB port, whereas you have a 1-year warranty on the device itself. So if you're constantly putting your USB cord in there and it wiggles around a lot and you break it, it's not going to be covered under warranty after 3 months. So that's just something for you to know. Again, you can charge it. They're not saying you can't charge it. They just recommend that you not use it for charging, because that everyday in and out could possibly break your USB charging port. The real purpose of the USB port is one of the greatest features that I like on this, why I like this over the DNA 40, why I would recommend it over the DNA 40, is the fact that the chip is user upgradable. So they can come out with firmware. You can simply plug the USB cord into it and upgrade the firmware on your own, which is to me a big downfall of the DNA, that you can't upgrade it, especially because they keep adding features onto it. It is stainless steel. It is, like I said, very high quality stainless steel and aluminum body. It has a great design. Like I said, user upgradable software, and I'm just reading this from their list on their website. It does have reverse battery protection, so you don't have to worry about putting your battery in there the wrong way. You're not going to fry the board or anything like that. It has an output short, low resistance, low battery voltage, and overheat protection. So before we get into the up close and personal, let's talk about some of my personal experiences and preferences with this device. Let's take a vape first, though. First of all, I get a good quality vape every single time I use it. I don't get the wankiness that I had with the DNA 40 chip, where I take one and it's really good and the next one is very weak because of the resistance issue. So I never get any dry hits with it. And no matter what atomizer, no matter what RDA or RBA I use on here, I really get a good vape. And its overall temperature control in itself has really made me enjoy my Kfun V4. I know a lot of people in the past have had issues with Kfuns with dry hits, and the temperature control really, really helps that. Now, with the Kfun V4, a lot of people have had issues because the spring messes with the resistance, and there's a lot of different solutions. I talked about one of them where you can turn off the juice control and fill it off the device and then turn it back on, and the DNA 40 wouldn't see the difference in the resistance. Some people take the spring out, and there's different videos on how to remove the spring and set it up. But the SX Mini actually helps in a better way than that. One of the features I really like about the SX Mini is that you can lock in the resistance. If you remember right, on the DNA 40 chip, you would put a new coil on and you'd get a reading that would say like new coil, same coil, and you had to choose it. And then it was constantly checking the resistance of that coil and adjusting the power based on the resistance that thought the coil was at. With the SX Mini, they have a great feature. It's a good feature, but I wish they would tweak it a little bit. When you put a new atomizer on your unit, It's not going to tell you this is a new coil, this is a different resistance than we thought. You actually have to lock in the resistance. You press the up and down buttons at the same time, and we'll show you that in the up close and personal, and it locks in the resistance of the atomizer that you have on there. Being able to lock in the resistance really has helped with my K-Fun V4 because I keep getting the same hit every single time because it's putting out the power based on the resistance that I locked in. So that is an incredible feature. Like I said, I've had no dry hits. No matter what I use with it, I have no dry hits. And I have found myself very comfortable at about 410 to 430 degrees, depending on the device I was using, and anywhere between about 14 joules up to about 25 joules. Now again, remember, I am not a high wattage vapor. Definitely not a high wattage vapor, but I'm getting a fuller bodied vape at those joules, as opposed to with the DNA where, you know, I was anywhere between about 10 watts and 20 to 23 watts. So I get a great full vape. Now battery life, I get probably, if they have a little joules counter on here, I get about 2100 joules on a 2500 mAh battery. So it definitely does go through my batteries a little bit more. I've tested a lot of different batteries, about 5 different batteries, anywhere from the Purple eFest to the Samsung 25Rs. I've used the LG, HE2, and they've pretty much all given me the same battery life. I'm a heavy vapor. I'm a chain vapor is what the old people used to tell us. And I get at least my whole day out of this using one battery. So, I'll show you in the up close and personal. I'm not keen on how the battery changes, though. That is definitely a con I found. And before we get into the up close and personal, I'll show you up close a little bit more. One thing I have found that I do not like is I found the finish isn't durable on this device. The unit itself is very durable, but in the last few days, and that's again why I decided to take a couple of weeks to make this video. In the last few days, I found that the paint is flaking off on this device. So let's get down into the up close and personal and take a look at it a little bit up closer and the different features. Then we'll come back and we'll wrap it up with some pros and cons. Okay, so let's start off with opening up the box. And I haven't opened this yet. The intro portion of this video where you saw me using it was filmed later on. I wanted to actually open this up live. So it came in this nice little gift bag. It's very nice. And we'll open it up here. Take it out, and this is the box that it comes in. It's got a little plastic sleeve. Not a whole lot of writing on the box. It says SX Mini powered by Yeehy SX350. On the back, manufactured by SX Mini, gray and silver, made in China. And there's a little sticker here, so we'll go ahead and open that up. Put this off to the side. And let's see. Okay, so I got the gray and silver one. Looks really good. Fits good in my hand. Let's see what else we have in here. Set of instructions. User manual, SX Mini M class. And then I'm assuming this is our charging cable. If I could get it out. Yes, this is our USB cable. So right off the bat here, we're going to look at it. It says on here on the bottom, SX Mini M class. Here's our battery door. 510. Not sure if that is spring-loaded. Okay, so sorry about that. I wanted to get a little screwdriver so I can see if this is a spring-loaded center pin, and it is a spring-loaded center pin, so that is nice. Overall, this is a nice-looking device. It looks like it's well-built. It feels good in my hand. I like the placement of this button. It's a nice clicky button, and it just kind of rests perfectly on my finger. Now, I didn't have an SX Mini, but I do know that they have rounded off the edges here. They've gotten rid of some of the sharp edges, and it definitely is comfortable in my hand. I did feel and hold an SX Mini, but I never actually purchased one because I felt it was so uncomfortable, and I like the way this feels in my hand. You have a couple of buttons down here for your up and down. USB port here, which from what I understand you can charge it this way, but they don't recommend it. They recommend taking your battery out, and you can also upgrade the firmware on this, and we'll get more into that as we go through it. Down on the bottom we have our battery port. There are some vents here for our batteries. Let's go ahead and put the battery in here. So you do need to have a coin to take your battery out. And I'm not going to go through the whole menu with this. I'm going to pause the video here. I'm going to experiment with this thing for a little while, and then I'm going to come back and go over all of the features with it. So it's only going to be 2 seconds for you, but it's going to be a couple of weeks for me. Now, before we do that, though, let's go ahead and weigh this just to see the difference in the weight. Now, we'll pull out our scale here. And let's compare size and weight to the DNA devices. We'll take our Vapor Shark. I've got the skin on here. Let's take the skin off so we can get an accurate measurement. A little bit of e-liquid in there. Okay, so this is our Vapor Shark RDNA 40. I'm going to compare it in size. Width-wise, looks like it's about the same depth. Width-wise this way. We're about the same this way. Height-wise, the SX Mini is a little bit taller. I'd say it's about a ½ an inch taller without pulling out my measurement tool. Okay, so that's the Vapor Shark. And then our Hanamods. This is the version 4D, so this is dual battery. Is going to be obviously a little bit wider, same in depth, and they're about the same height. So same height, but the Hanamods is a little bit wider, but that's to be expected because again this is a dual battery. Now let's look at weight wise. We're going to look at, okay, so the SX Mini is weighing in at 9.3 ounces. And that's with the battery in it. And then our Vapor Shark DNA is weighing in at 6.9 ounces. So considerably less weight for the Vapor Shark. And then our Hanamods, which we expect is going to be 8.7 ounces. So believe it or not, our Hanamods weighs less than the SX Mini, and that's with dual batteries. So there is a little bit of weight to this device. So we're going to pause here. I'm going to test this unit for a couple weeks. We're going to come right back, a couple of seconds for you, go over all the features with it, and then we're going to vape on it. Okay, so let's take a little closer look at the menu. We have our fire button here. We have our up and down buttons here. We have our USB port here. If we press the fire button 3 times, we're going to go into lock and unlock so you can't accidentally press your fire button. Press it 3 times again, you go into the unlock. If you press it 5 times, you enter into your menu, and the first thing you're going to have is adjust your wattage up and down. When you are vaping, if you want to adjust your wattage, the up and down buttons are simply going to control your memory function and then your boost modes, whether it be soft, standard, power, or powerful plus. So if you want to adjust just by a little bit, you have to go into the menu. Go back into the menu. Press the fire button again, you get into the exit screen that takes you out of the menu. And you have bypass. The bypass allows you to put this into a non-regulated mode, and you can vape up to 85 watts. You have your system that turns the unit completely off and on. We have our link. Link is going to allow us to upgrade the firmware. You simply put the link on and then plug your USB cord on and put it into your computer. Then you have your display. You can go left, right, or auto. And we have our power and joule mode. That's going to be temperature control or wattage mode. And then you go round back to your wattage adjustment. So let's go back to our joule mode. We'll press this. Now we can adjust our joules. You can adjust your joules up and down. It does take a long time. It doesn't have like a ramp up quicker speed. And you can go from 5 joules up to 50 joules. Press it again and you're going to get into Fahrenheit or Celsius. You can adjust your temperature here. You can go from 200 degrees up to 520 degrees. If you press the button again, now we go into Celsius or Fahrenheit. And then you get your exit button. And that's going to be all of the different settings within the menu. See, let's go out to the main screen and take a look at there. We have, if you hit this bottom button right here, you're going to have a choice of 4 modes. You can go soft, standard, powerful, or powerful plus. Soft gives you a slower ramp up. Standard gives you whatever you wattage or joules you have it set at. Powerful is going to increase it for 1 second, and powerful plus is going to increase it for 2 seconds and then drop down to the joules or wattage you want. Now if we hit this up button, we have 5 memory settings. So you can have memory 1, memory 2, memory 3, memory 4, and memory 5. Now if you put it on a memory and then you hit, while you're on there, you hit the lower button, the down button, you can adjust whatever you have that set for. And once you have that set, you can just hit the fire button or let it exit back out. Now, if you put a new atomizer on, when you put a new atomizer on, you have to press and hold both the up and down buttons at the same time. And that's going to lock in your resistance. So the resistance that I have on here is a 0.094. Now, every time you put a new nickel build on here, you're going to have to lock that in. It doesn't warn you that like you have a new atomizer. You have to remember, I put a new atomizer and I have to lock the resistance in. One feature I would like to see them add to this is to automatically detect that I have a different coil and ask me, similar to the DNA chip. Okay, so those are your different settings there. Now we can look at our screen here. We have up here whatever our wattage or joule setting is. Down on the bottom is the joules counter. That tells you how much you've used, how many joules you've used with your battery. We have up here our battery indicator, what temperature we have it set at. We have the current volts, and we have our ohms, and then what setting you have for powerful, powerful plus. And then right in the middle there, if you can see it, I know it's hard, I can't get it to focus anymore, is which memory setting I'm using currently. So you can just scroll through and it's going to tell me I have it on memory 2, memory 3, memory 4, memory 5, whichever one I'm using. So that's the menu. One thing, when you do go into the menu system, get back in here, if you tilt it, okay, like this or like this, you're going to see it has a gravity sensor where it's going to automatically adjust it so you don't have to hit the buttons. You do not have to use that. You can use the buttons. I personally hate this feature. I find if I don't hold it perfectly straight like this or like this, and I turn it, it automatically starts changing. If I can get that on camera, seeing how it's blinking. You have to have it perfectly straight, otherwise it's going to change automatically. You can use the buttons or you can use the gravity. I personally hate the gravity. There is no way to turn that off. It doesn't allow you to turn that off at all. So that is a feature I personally can't stand. I wish they would at least give me a way to turn that off. So that's the different menu features. A lot in there. You scroll through it pretty quickly. It's pretty easy to use. Now let's talk about the temperature control a little bit more. And similar to the DNA, it's going to monitor somewhat the temperature of our coil. And you can see here, I have it set at 20 joules, 429 degrees Fahrenheit with a 0.09 ohm coil in here. And I have it on the Powerful Plus. So when I press the button, you're going to see it's constantly trying to monitor the temperature of that coil. Now, I only have it at 20 joules, and it's only going up to about, 370 degrees Fahrenheit, staying somewhere around there. Now, you can see if I put this into, like, the soft mode, it takes much longer to get up to that. So that's what your soft and your standard and your powerful, but it's just going to constantly do that. Now, if on the DNA 40, you would get that temperature protection all the time. You don't have a temperature protection, and what we'll do is I'll take this atomizer off, and I'm going to put on my tugboat, which is currently not wicked. And see, we'll put this tugboat on here. We're going to lock our resistance in 0.092. Let me take off the top here, and you can see here. Let's zoom out a little bit. Now when we press our fire button, see there's that set resistance when I press it. It smokes a little bit, and then it's going to say dry coil, no liquid. So it's monitoring, and it realizes I have a dry coil, no liquid. So if I put a couple of drops of e-liquid on these coils, you'll see that that will go away, and I'll vaporize those. You can see it vaporizing, and then once the coils are like dry, it's going to come out and say that I have a dry coil, and we'll just keep going until we get that dry coil warning. Dry coil, no liquid. So that's how the temperature control works on the SX Mini. Okay, so down here we have our battery port, which we showed you when we first unboxed it a couple of weeks ago. And you do need to have a coin to take it out. I hate this feature. I find a dime works best. If you try to use a quarter, it doesn't fit as well. I just have a harder time with a quarter. I like using a dime, or personally, I usually just grab like a larger Phillips head, flathead screwdriver and take it off. But there are a lot of threads on here, and they are not super smooth. So it takes some time. Once you kind of get it loose, you can just kind of drop your battery out. I'm using Samsung 25Rs. I got these on Amazon.com. I'll put a link down in the description. I think I paid $12 for 2 of them. Can't beat that price. And it was free shipping if you are a Prime member. So, and I know that they are authentic. I seem to get about 21,000 joules on each charge, and that's running it somewhere around 20 to 25 joules in the temperature control mode. So it lasts me all day. They've been pretty well, but you can see down there inside of our battery, I've had no issues with connections. I just put my battery in there. We do have reverse battery protection. Now, putting your battery cap back on can be a bit tricky. I find it cross threads very easily. So just make sure you go backwards a couple times until you feel it catch. And once you see, like, I'm cross threading it there. So you'll feel it catch. It should go on very simple. And once you get it on there, now they're caught there. Once you get it on, then you can screw it in. Now, one thing I will say is I found you don't have to tighten this down super tight. It makes a decent connection, even if it's a little loose. So I personally don't tighten it. As soon as I feel a little bit of resistance, I stop tightening it down. Now, once you remove your battery, when you try to turn the device on, you're going to find the device doesn't turn on. And when I first got it, I put the battery in, and I'm pressing the button, and I'm pressing the button, and I pressed it 3 times, and it didn't turn on, and I pressed it 5 times, and it finally turned on. So when you take the battery out, you have to press the button, and it seems to be different every time I press it. Sometimes it's 5 times, sometimes it's 6 times, sometimes it's 7 times, but just keep pressing your fire button repeatedly, and it will turn on. So let's talk about the finish on the device. When I first got the device 2 weeks ago, I did an unboxing, I showed it to you, and I was very happy with it. I loved the gray color, I loved the aluminum body here. Thought it really looked sharp, but now after 2.5 weeks of using it, you can see I have a couple of scratches on it. Now when I first saw these scratches, I was like, okay, well, I'm hard on my devices, I take them to work, I take them outside, but when we flip it over, you're going to see it's even worse. You have these all here, and you have this up here, and you can look up closer there. And this is disappointing, and I realize now it's not for me being hard on a device. If you look at the way I grab the device when I use it, I hold them 2 ways. I either hold it like this, and I press the fire button with my index finger, and look where my hand is resting, right up in here. Or I sometimes do it like this, and I grab it like this. For some reason, I tend to grab it like this more for some reason. I just find it more comfortable to have my fingers wrapped around the other side. I press the fire button and look at where my index finger is. And what's happening is where my hands are grabbing it, the paint is just flaking off. So if I just take my fingernail a little bit and just scratch, all the paint just flakes off. So we're going to be putting a J-wrap on this. I'm going to put that in another video. It's supposed to be in the mail today, so probably by the time you see this video, I will already have a video up of me putting a J-wrap on it. So that's kind of disappointing. The rest of the unit I'm very happy with. I never owned an SX Mini S-Class. I did use one. I looked at them, and I wasn't comfortable holding it. And one of the reasons is because all of these were very sharp. They were sharp corners. There was a sharp corner down here. The fire button was sharp and was uncomfortable to use, so I kind of passed on that device. So this is my first Chinese mod. And I know that a lot of the consumers complained about all those sharp corners, and SX or Yeehee has rounded everything off and made it very, very comfortable to hold in your hand. So other than the paint flaking, I love the design of the unit itself. I love the way it feels in my hand. I love the weight. I love everything about it. I'm just very unhappy with the flaking of it. So that's the up close and personal in the SX Mini M class from Yeehy. And you can see there are a lot of features. Personally, more features than I'm ever going to use. I'm never going to use the bypass mode. I know a lot of you will. I personally won't. I'm not a mechanical mod person. I like regulation, but again, that's just my preference. The menu is extensive. There are a lot of things to remember to do it. And for me, little bit of a subjective con, but we'll talk about the pros and cons later. I like the simplicity of menus. I like the simplicity of the DNA 40 menu, but again, my personal preference, that's what I like. Now let's take a vape here. No matter what atomizer, no matter what RDA, RBA tank I use on here, I get a great vape with it. I really do get a great vape. Once you learn how to use the nickel coils and wrap them and find the design that you like, the gauge that you like, it's very easy to build. I mean, it is a softer wire, but once you get the hang of it, you'll have no issues with it. No matter what I put on it, whether I use the Troll, which this is not my favorite device, and in fact, I'm going to give this away at the end of this video. Not because it's not a good RDA, just I don't personally like it because I'm not a cloud chaser, and this is a cloud chasing RDA. I'm a flavor person, and I would prefer something that's going to have a much more compact chamber that's going to give me a lot of flavor. So at the end of the video, I'm going to give this away with a chuff cap. So stay tuned at the end of the video and I'll tell you how to do that. But if I use my K-Fun V4 on it, if I use my Kanger Subtank Mini, it works flawlessly, and it really works flawlessly if you use the Subtank Mini OCC nickel heads. Then you never have any issues. So if you want the temperature control, but you aren't like really confident at building nickel coils yet, there are tanks. I believe the Aspire tank has them. The Subtank Mini, you can get OCC nickel heads and never have to worry about it, and you get tremendously good vapes every one of those. But no matter what RDA I use on it, whether I use the Troll, my Freak Show, my Tugboat, my Mad Hatter, my Marquee, no matter what I use, I get a great vape on this thing. I just really enjoy it. Now, like I said, I have the Troll RDA on here right now, and I actually have this in dual coil mode, and I'll show you up here. Let me just go ahead and focus on there for you. This is a dual coil, 32 gauge, 10 wraps on a 3mm rod. And I get really good vapor production with this, even at a, lower setting. Now, I will say, dual coils, nickel, very difficult to work with. I'm not going to say they don't mix. There are a lot of people who are doing it, but I personally find it difficult because to get a decent dual coil, you need a lot of wraps, or you have to use very, very thin wire. You can use just a few wraps if you want to use something like a 32 gauge, but that wire is so thin and it has so flexible and so soft, it's very hard to get a coil, and you're definitely never going to be able to re-wick it. I did put a dual coil on here because it's the Troll. You can do it, it's just harder. I have found my personal experience, my personal preference is single coils give me a great vape. They give me a very satisfying vape, and I'm happy with it. But let's take a vape here, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. I currently, like I said, have a dual coil on here. This is set at 30 joules and at 430 degrees. And again, that's only at 30 joules. So, 430 degrees, 30 joules. We'll bump it up to 50 joules. I get a lot more flavor. I get a lot more vapor. Very, very satisfying. And again, the Troll is not my favorite device. It just doesn't give me the flavor that I personally want. But a lot of you love this device, thus why I'm going to give it away at the end of the video. So let's talk about the pros and cons of the SX Mini M class. We're going to start off with the cons. My first con, my biggest disappointment with this is the finish. I'm very disappointed that for a $200 device, and after only 2.5 weeks, the paint is flaking off. It really irks me. It really disappoints me that I have to take this really gorgeous looking device and put a J-wrap on it so that it could look good again. Really disappointing to me. I mean, and like I said in the up close and personal, at first I thought it was just, okay, I've scratched it, I'm hard on my devices. But then the more I looked at it, the more I realized that it's right where my pointer finger is resting on it. My next con with this is probably going to be a subjective one. Some of you may not agree with me, but for me, the menu system is very complicated. There's too much going on. And the number one thing, the thing I would love to get rid of is that gyroscope thing. Either keep it and give me a way to turn it off or get rid of it. It's not necessary. It's gimmicky. The next thing would be the fact that I really enjoy the memory settings of memory 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, but I would really like to see a way that I can adjust my, wattage or adjust my joules with the up and down buttons without having to go into the menu system. Now, the next thing is going to be, when it comes to the atomizer locking resistance thing, I would really like to see a feature added in very similar to the DNA 40 that when I put an atomizer on there, it asks me, is this a new coil? Is this the same coil? And then have the feature to lock it in. I find that sometimes I grab one of my RDAs, I put it on here, and then I forget that wasn't what I was using and I forget to lock it in. Now, after I fired it 2 or 3 times, I have to go and, put it down, let it cool off, and then try all over again. Now, next up on my cons list is I would prefer the device to actually automatically switch between Kanthal and temperature mode and not have me have to manually put it in. Now, where on the DNA 40, I can manually take it out of temperature control, I'm fine with that. But I wish this chip had a way to automatically detect whether I have a Kanthal coil in there or a nickel coil. Some people didn't like that about the DNA 40. I personally did, because you never want to fire a Kanthal coil when you're in temperature mode. And, although I really don't use Kanthal coils anymore, I'm only using nickel coils, I have taken a Kanthal coil and put it on there, and I'm in temperature mode, and now it's firing very unsafely. So I would rather see that. I don't know if that is designed that way, because they're worried about glitches or whatever it is. Again, my personal opinion, I would prefer to see it automatically detect that I have a nickel coil on there, or automatically detect that I have a Kanthal coil on there. My next con, this battery door. This thing is a pain in the ass. I can't stand this thing. I don't know what they could do to fix it. Give me a magnetic battery, have me put the battery on the side, something. But I find this thing is a pain in the neck. It takes a lot of unscrewing to get it out. When I try to put it back in, it cross threads like crazy. You have to be very soft and very delicate. And, they tell us don't charge it with the USB charger. And that's another con. But they tell us don't charge it with the USB port. And then it's a pain in the ass to change batteries out. I want a simpler way to change batteries. If I have to change my battery, once a day, once every other day, I want an easier way. If I'm out on the go, I don't want to have to sit here and find a coin, find a screwdriver, unscrew this thing, screw it back in. I want a very simple way. One thing I like about the RDNA 40 is the magnetic battery door. So, either that, make it magnetic battery door, or design something with like a little flip up piece where like it's in there and I just take it and screw it with it, where I don't have to grab a coin, I don't have to grab a screwdriver to take this off. That definitely is a con to me. Along with that con is I will never buy that extension tube. Even if I was 120 watt vapor, this thing looks ridiculous. I mean, look at that thing. That thing looks ridiculous. So for the people who are 120 watt vapors, for the people who do want 2 batteries in there so they can have a long battery life, make a little bit bigger device, put 2 18650 batteries in there, and call it the SX Mini Maxi or the SX Maxi M class, something like that. Give us a device that holds 2 18650 batteries without having a stupid tube on the bottom of it. I hate that thing. Next thing is going to be the USB port. You gave me a USB port to charge this, then you tell me don't do it. Why would you do that? So, I understand they're saying you can charge it. They say don't do it because, putting your USB cord in there is going to, possibly mess up the port, and you only have a 3-month warranty. So my thing, $200 device, you gave me a year's warranty on the device. give me a year warranty on the USB port. You already gave me a pain in the ass thing to do with the battery and putting it in and out, so let me charge it with my battery, with my USB port. One of the things that I like about that HANA V4D is I've got dual batteries in there, but when I want to charge it, I don't have to unscrew it. You know, I hated the fact that I have to unscrew the battery door to put new batteries in there, but I just never take the batteries out. I keep my 2 batteries that I bought for that device in there, and whenever I need to charge it, I simply plug it into the USB port. That's what I want to do with this. I hate this battery door. I want to charge it with the USB port, and you're telling me if I charge it with the USB port, I could screw it up and I'll be out of warranty. My next feature is, I hate the joules thing. What's with this joules thing? Give me wattage. Let me be able to set the wattage so I know my wattage. So let's take a vape on this and then we'll talk about the pros. It's getting a little dry there. But again, I'm not getting a dry coil. Let's juice that up and try that one more time. Put a little bit. I'm loving this stuff. I've got the Vapor Light Cosmic Crunch. I love the fact that it's probably my #1 pro is the temperature control works. I never get a dry coil. Again, that's only at 30 joules with 430 degrees. It gives me a lot of vapor, and I never get a dry hit. So the temperature control works. So that's going to be my #1 pro is it works. It works really well. Very similar to the DNA 40, but without all of the little glitches and stuff. I've really had no glitches that I had with the DNA 40 device. So that is definitely a pro. My next pro is going to be, this device is solid. It is a good feeling unit. I like the weight of it. I know some people may not like the heaviness of it. I personally love it. It is a solid built device. If you want to look at a comparison between, like, say this and, you know, the HANA mods and the Vapor Shark and the Vapor Flask, and I'm talking about all authentics, I'm not talking about clones, you know, the Smoke, you know, X Pro M80, I would say that this unit is what the Provari was in variable voltage 3 and 4 years ago. It is that solid of a device. I feel like I can take this thing, I can drop it, I can throw it across the room, and it's not going to break. I'm not saying throw it across the room. I'm saying I feel like if I did throw it across the room, it's not going to break. It is a solid device, and it is absolutely a pro. Probably now I wouldn't say my #1 pro, but it's up there. The #1 pro is the fact that the temperature control actually works. So, but just a solid device. My next pro is going to be that Yeehee listened to the consumer. Although I did not own an SX Mini, it wasn't something that I really desired. I have felt it. I've held it in my hand. And I like the fact that Yeehee listened to the consumer and fixed the little issues that people didn't like with it. They rounded off the corners. They made it a much more comfortable thing to hold in their hand. So that is definitely a pro. Another pro is going to be that this is a 60-watt device. I'm personally never going to vape at 60 watts. I'm not going to vape at 50 joules, but a lot of you are. And one of the complaints that people had with the DNA 40 is that it was only a 40-watt device. People were like, well, you know, I have temperature control. I really want more than 40 watts. And Yeehee gave that to you with 60 watts. And if you want to put that ridiculous looking tube on here, you can bring it up to 120 watts, you know, in Canthal mode. So that is definitely a pro. Another pro is going to be the fact that they give you a 1-year warranty. I personally am generally not somebody who buys, you know, Chinese, you know, mods. I am more of an American person. I usually want to buy, you know, American-made products. And so I like the fact that you're selling me a product from China. It is well made. It's well built. And you're giving me a year warranty. Now, I don't know how easy it's going to be to use that warranty if there is an issue, but I like the fact that you're giving me a year warranty. I just wish you also gave me a year warranty on my USB charger. Another one of my big pros is that this is user upgradable. I think one of the biggest downfalls and one of the biggest flaws with the DNA 40 chip is you charge $200 for this device. You know, all of the people who are making devices, you know, they're all, you know, anywhere between $189 and $300. And the chip isn't user upgradable, you know. So if you look at the DNA 40, Over the last few months, they've had several modifications. They had all kinds of glitches. They had screen glitches. They had glitches where it was having issues. And now they've added in, to the chip, the fact that you can lock in atomizer resistance is similar to this. And yet, if you have an older version, you have no way to upgrade that. The only thing you could do is send your device in and have somebody put the big chip in. And then if you look at it, that even the new feature, the atomizer lock resistance feature, is only available on large screens. So I have a VaporShark RDNA 40. They've upgraded that chip for me, and I had to mail it in and wait a week for that. But then I also have a HANA V4D, and that has the small screen, so I don't have that feature. I love the fact that you've allowed me to upgrade my firmware on here. So if you find a problem, if you find a glitch, you can put their software up there, and we can download it and upgrade it ourselves. So that is definitely a big pro. Probably one of the biggest pros is the fact that you can do that, and that's why I got this device early. Usually I would wait a while and take a look at all of the glitches and see like how many problems are people having it. But when they put out a device and allow me to upgrade the firmware, it makes me a little bit more prone to getting it, because I know that if they find a problem, I'm going to be able to fix it on my own. So that is all the pros that I can think of off the top of my head. I'm sure there are more. I just can't think of them right now. But overall, like I said, I love this device. I mean, my DNA 40s, I'm still using them. They're still sitting right here on my desk. I have different RDAs on them. But my go-to device, the device that I grab first, is the SX Mini M Class. I mean, this has put my Provaris on the back shelf. I'll never use them again. I don't even know what I'm going to do with them. I really have become a temperature control guy, but my favorite device out of them all is this one. And so if somebody would come up to me and say, like, I want to get a temperature control device, I want to get a 60-watt well-built mod, what should I get? I'm going to recommend this. Yes, it is a little pricey at $199, but it's well-built. It's a well-built mod, and it's definitely my favorite out of all the different devices I own. If this broke today, I'm going to go out and buy another one, and I'll probably get it express shipping because I just can't be without it. I love it that much. So let's take a vape, and then we'll do my giveaway. As much as I don't like the Troll RDA, not because it's not a good device, but because I'm not a cloud chaser, this thing even makes the Troll RDA for me a satisfying vape. So like I said, there's nothing wrong with this. It's a great RDA. It's just not my preference. It sits over on my shelf, and I never use it. I literally took it out to make this video. I never use it because I'm a flavor chaser, not a cloud chaser, and this is really a cloud chasing RDA. So we're going to give it away. And like I said, I'm going to give away the Troll RDA, and I'm going to give away a brand new chuff cap that I've never used. So I don't like chuff caps. I don't know why the guy gave it to me. I don't like them. It comes without a drip tip. It comes with a Delrin insulator on top to put, any standard 510 drip tip, or we call them 510. And then I'll give you the chuff cap so that you can put a chuff cap on it if you're a cloud chaser. And it's a very simple, giveaway. Here's what you have to do. All you have to do is hit the like button on this video, then go over to my Twitter account, which is @VaporOutlaw, and send me a tweet saying, I liked your SX Mini video. That's all you have to do. Like the video, to go over to my Twitter and say, I liked your SX Mini, video. And what we'll do today is May 7th. On May 15th, I will give this away. I'll put it in random.org. I'll give it away. I'll mail it right out. And I'm going to do some different giveaways on my different videos. So make sure you subscribe to me. So that is my video for today. Hopefully you liked it. Hopefully I gave you a little bit more information so that you can make an informed decision if you want to get the SX Mini M Class. Like I said, I'm loving it. It's become my favorite device. Please do me a favor. Hit the like button. Go over to my Twitter account and tweet me, and we'll put you in the giveaway. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And until next time, happy vaping.